I don't know about you, but somebody needs to shave their face. And that is me. But since most of you listen and don't look anyways, I will just feed you your daily news today. Can't help but to notice another thing about the pension system. And as you would expect, California. In this case, El Monte, California, with a mere 100,000 residents. Boy, do they have some pension problems. And boy, does this piss me off when you realize the people who benefit from the pensions, which is, again, city, whether that be fire, police, office worker in the city, just city employee, period, government employee of the, on that city level anyways, or county. And you say, well, hold on, this person's on the pension board or that person. Everybody, this is classic comedian George Carlin. Yeah, George Carlin. I keep thinking Carlin. When he said, it's a big effing club, you ain't in it. He's absolutely right, and not just on one big level where it's the big elite club. The big elite club does at the top, and the smaller, if you will, not really going to say elite, but you can, whatever, the smaller wannabe elite club, that would be your local, state, and county officials. So they want to write these pension laws and changes and rules so that it massively benefits them when it's their turn to retire. And when you hear what the average household income is, what the average wage is, yearly wage for, again, average job out there, and how much of the people there are actually below or at the poverty line, and then you hear these fat pigs, as in government officials over there that run the pension, that their buddies ran the pension system, how much they've decided essentially to pay themselves when they retire because they deserve it so much more than you. It's going to piss you off a little bit. But in order to get past these fiascos and this crap, it has to be exposed. So if this irritates anybody that happens to be over there, I don't know that I have a single subscriber in El Monte, California. But if I do, say hi in the comment section. Hey, I live over there, J Snip. Or maybe you live real close. That might even be okay for me too. Only because this would, at least if you lived there, this will directly affect you. So when you hear about taxes raised or this raised or that fee's higher, it's so that these crooks can get these huge, ungodly payments or retirement, if you will, every year. So before I get too aggravated, let me go ahead and start reading this story so I can get more aggravated. It's corruption on steroids, says Zero Hedge. A look inside the El Monte, California public employee pension. And I just thought of something I need to interject again, which maybe I'm saving myself from getting aggravated subconsciously. I'll go ahead and interject. What state was it we had a problem with that was really, really, really massively anti-Republican and anti-Trump? California. The liberal left, if you had to pick one state that was massively liberal left-leaning, I already know the answer because I already know the data. California. With a close second, New York, but nonetheless, California. So these are the people and their mindset, this liberal left. It's their mindset that puts this kind of crap into play that I'm about to read to you. So just keep that in mind. El Monte, California is a city of roughly 100,000 residents in East Los Angeles, many of whom struggle to make ends meet with a median household income of just $39,000 and nearly 25% of people living below the poverty line. But while most of the people of El Monte struggle to meet monthly expenses, the city's public employees are living the high life, courtesy of one of the most egregious taxpayer-funded pension plans in the entire country. Again, where would this be? California. If anywhere, California. Where? Liberal left. Just ask the retired city manager, James Mussenden, who told the LA Times that he gets paid $216,000 per year in retirement to tour the world of extravagant golf trips. The retired city manager, firefighter, no. Police officer, chief of police, no. City manager. Mayor, no. City manager. Wow. The retired city manager of El Monte collects more than $216,000 a year, plus cost of living increases, and fully paid health insurance. That's a big one. Cost the average person these days $1,000 or more for their family. So that's, again, here you go. It's part of the pension system that previous politicians put in place. It's mine. I'm not complaining about it, of course, because I'm the guy getting it. No, but we're the guys paying for it. We're the ones complaining, and we're pissed off. Except Jay Snip's not technically because he's in Florida. Quote, it's giving me an opportunity to do a number of things I didn't get to do when I was younger, like travel to Europe, take some things off my bucket list, Mussenden, 66, said recently. He even flew to Scotland to play the famed Old Course at St. Andrews, a mecca for golf enthusiasts. Mussenden recognizes that few Americans have pensions anymore, least of all the El Monte taxpayers who are funding his retirement. So while he enjoys his monthly retirement check, he's discreet about it. Quote, the guys I play golf with, they get very angry about my pension because they don't have anything like it, he said. El Monte's total retirement costs for public employees in 2016 totaled $16.5 million, or a staggering 28% of the city's entire total budget. But taxpayer-funded pension payouts weren't always so generous in El Monte. In fact, that changed in 1999 when a decade-long bull market tripled the value of California's massive public pension fund known as CalPERS. Of course, the CalPERS board of directors, dominated by public employee union leaders and their political allies, of course, voted to spend the surplus, lowering retirement ages and raising pensions for public employees all across the state. Unfortunately, the CalPERS board was blinded by endless Wall Street reports suggesting that Pets.com was worth at least $1 trillion and forgot that markets actually cycle. Alas, shortly after granting 200,000 civil servants sweet new retirement packages, at the absolute peak of the market, mind you, the tech bubble burst, and CalPERS found itself in a crisis that still plagues the state to this day. California Highway Patrol officers got an especially sweet deal. Their pensions had been 2% of their highest salaries, multiplied by the number of years they worked. The percentage of peak salary was raised to 3%. That meant officers with 30 years of service could collect up to 90% of their highest pay for life, and they would be eligible to retire at as early as 50. So this is what I talked about before. They work, for example, 30 years, let's say, whether it's 20 or 30, doesn't matter, but in this case, we're going with 30. That's what the article is talking about. And on the 30th year, their final year, they decide, I'm cashing in all my extra paydays. I'm going to work all the overtime I can get. I'm going to work all the off-duty extra jobs I can get my hands on, which counts as pay, so that I can make way more this year, legitimately so, than I ever have in my life. Because I know when I retire next year, they look at the highest paid year that I had, and that's going to be this year. So I want to make it count. So again, when I say that I'm not upset and I don't feel sorry for some of these people who have lost their pensions, they're renegotiating them, 50% haircut, 60% haircut, or you get almost nothing, I'm sorry when I say I don't feel bad in the slightest, okay? Now, I do realize there's some hardworking private pensioners out there. I do feel bad for you. And you might argue some city employees elsewhere that are trying to do it the right way, didn't have this liberal mindset when this thing was created, and is still struggling. I do feel for you. But this crap is some next level stuff. El Monte adopted the new pension formula known as 3% at 50 in the year 2000. And the effect was dramatic. Officers who retired before 2000 were with more than 25 years of service would collect $82,000 a year on average. Those who retired after the year 2000, we know when this new rule was put in place, collect an average of $120,000 or 50% more. And who's this guy? I don't know who he is, Mr. Gomez. We saw what corruption on steroids looked like in the city of Bell, but it's not always as obvious as that. Sometimes it's more subtle. You don't pay people on the front end, you pay them on the back end, he said. But former city manager Harold O. Johansson didn't think it was fair that police officers got a sweetened retirement deal while other city employees had their pensions capped at 2/3 of their final salary. So he set out to implement a supplemental plan for the other El Monte public employees that would boost their retirement checks by 50%. Johansson subsequently retired 3 years later at 58 and now collects $250,000 per year from taxpayers, putting him in the top 100th of 1% of all public pension recipients in California. The idea for the supplemental plan arose in 2000 after the city council granted El Monte police officers the right to retire with up to 90% of their highest salary guaranteed for life. But it created a gap between El Monte police and the city's non-uniformed employees. Under CalPERS rules, civilian pensions were capped at 2/3 of final salary. It would boost civilians' retirement checks by 50% and put their pensions nearly on par with police. The city council approved the idea in May of 2000, unanimously and without public, the people who pay, debate. Johansson retired 3 years later at 58. Today he is the top beneficiary of the program he championed, collecting a combined pension of more than $250 a year, $250K, city records show. That puts him in the top 100th of 1% of all public pension recipients in the state of liberal California. But sweet pensions aren't the only perk afforded to El Monte. Oh, what? There's more? Public employees who also get Fridays off if they work 10 hours per day, Monday through Thursday. And annual cost of living adjustments of up to 5%. 5% annual cost of living adjustments? And instead of working 8-hour days, I'll work 10-hour days and then screw over the public on Friday because I'm not coming into work. You don't get your services on Friday because I'm not coming in, or you get less services. Sounds fantastic. El Monte has a history of generous employee benefits, including a 4-day work week for civil servants who put in 10 hours a day and have Fridays off. Oh, they actually used the word this time in the sentence. Liberal pension provisions are another part of that tradition. Under state law, police are supposed to contribute 9% of their paychecks toward their pensions. In civilian workers, 7%. But El Monte covers the employee contribution as well as the employer share, a legacy of collective bargaining agreements dating back to the early 1980s. On top of that, retired El Monte employees receive annual cost of living increases that at the high end of what CalPERS allows, which is up to 4% for police and up to 5% for civilians, depending on inflation. CalPERS, or most CalPERS pension recipients, receive increases of 2% annually. Benefits that lavish do not come cheap. For every $100 the city paid a police officer in 2016, it had to pay an additional $71 to CalPERS to fund payments to current and future retirees. Perhaps at some point, we can all stop talking about Russian hackers and actually focus on the real corruption plaguing our country. Bravo, Zero Hedge, you've done it again. And I'm sure that might make some people's blood boil, and it should. Who in the hell do these people think they are? We're not even going to have public debates. City council got together. We agreed to this. By the way, City council, do you guys collect the pension? Yes, we do. You know they probably do. City council. City council. So we too get this benefit so we can find ways to work overtime and stuff on our last year? Of course. So suppose you get a bunch of people in the room who have the authority and power to steal from other people, and it's legal, it's not called stealing, but you're stealing from other people, and have the power to give themselves raises, benefits, and incredible things that your wildest dreams could not imagine. And of course, they're going to do it without public debate. They don't want you there telling them this is absurd, we won't stand for it, because even if you do, they're still going to do it anyways because they get to give themselves a raise. And they get to take the money out of your pocket whether you like it or not. I'm sorry, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so. You're a citizen in this country, aren't you? Yes, I am. Citizen of California? Yes, I am. Citizen of El Monte? Yes, I am. You do have rights to vote, correct? And did you vote for city council? Yes, I did. But I didn't vote for these left-leaning liberals. But apparently the rest of your city did. And that's who is here due to the voters. So yes, we get to steal from your back pocket because other people voted for these people to get in, and they, I'm not going to tell you this out loud, but are part of the club, the mini club. I don't want to say this, but I do, so I'm going to say it. I hope that pension fund goes completely upside down and these rascals end up losing their houses and everything else, and then somebody like me or you sees a sweet deal and we got cash, silver goes up. Oh, remember the whole thing about someone actually made a mug and it had something on it that said something about this mug was made with liberal, tears or liberal something, and they drink out of it. Every time you drink out of it, it gives you like extra points, like pretend. And then we had the thing on eBay. Someone was selling liberal tears on eBay. It was just water, obviously, but it actually sold on eBay. This would be taking that to the next level. Guys, I just bought a foreclosed home on a liberal pensioner who tried to rig the system in their favor with his cohorts before him. And now I got it for pennies on the dollar. Go me. But the truth of the matter is, it's probably not going to happen. You're not going to know who owned the house. And they probably have their house paid off with that kind of salary. But nonetheless, news is news, and I must report it. Take care.